This is a place of national pilgrimage, commemorating all Scottish servicemen and women, and those serving in Scottish regiments, who have died in conflict since 1940. It is a powerful spiritual tribute to their sacrifice. Finally, the castle is still an active military base for the British Army, and its long history as a garrison is preserved in two exceptional regimental museums. The Royal Scots Dragoon Guards Museum. This museum tells the story of Scotland's only regular cavalry regiment, dating back over 300 years. The highlight here is undoubtedly the French Imperial Eagle captured by Sergeant Charles Ewart of the Royal Scots Greys from the French 45th Regiment at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. It's an incredibly rare and potent trophy of war. You can also see their gold disc celebrating the sale of 1 million copies of the regimental band's version of the song Amazing Grace. The National War Museum, part of the National Museum Scotland. This museum offers a broader view of 400 years of Scottish at war. It goes beyond the battlefield to explore the personal stories, the influence of war on the nation's identity, the letters sent home by soldiers, and the personal effects of those on the front lines. It showcases the full spectrum of Scottish military history, from Highland broadswords to modern weaponry and the Scorpion tank on display outside. The museums of Edinburgh Castle link the threads of Scottish history, from the royal power of the crown jewels through the sacrifice of the War Memorial to the enduring legacy of the Scottish regiments. When we think of Edinburgh Castle, we often think of kings, queens, and sieges long past. But what makes this castle unique is that it's not a dusty monument. It's a living, working military base and a centre for some of Scotland's most iconic modern activities. While its history spans 1,000 years, the castle's greatest traditions continue to be performed here today. We can focus on three major modern activities: the time gun, the regimental life, and the military tattoo. Every day, except Sunday, Good Friday, and Christmas Day, at precisely 1 p.m., an explosive blast echoes across the city from the Mills Mount Battery. This is the firing of the 1 o'clock gun. It's one of the most popular and loudest traditions in Edinburgh, but its purpose is surprisingly practical. Maritime timekeeping. The tradition dates back to 1861. In the days before radio, it was vital for ships in the Firth of Forth to set their chronometers accurately. The loud bang provided an unmistakable time signal, allowing captains to calculate their longitude and navigate safely. The gunner. The responsibility falls to the district gunner, who is a non-commissioned officer from the Royal Artillery. They load and fire the modern 105mm field gun used today with meticulous precision, following the clock on the Nelson Monument on Calton Hill. The spectacle. Visitors gather on Mills Mount Battery to witness the brief but spectacular ceremony. It's a moment that instantly distinguishes locals from tourists. Locals check their watches, tourists jump a mile. This daily firing is a proud example of the castle's continuing function, linking its military heritage directly to the daily life of the city. Edinburgh Castle is still officially a working military barracks. Though the new barracks are not open to the public, the role of the castle as a home for Scottish soldiers continues. The Governor. The castle is commanded by the Governor of Edinburgh Castle, an ancient position with ceremonial duties that acts as the King's representative and the link between the castle and the army in Scotland. The installation of a new governor is a ceremony steeped in traditional pomp and pageantry, complete with parades and a guard of honour. Military presence. Elements of the Royal Regiment of Scotland are often present, performing essential duties. Visitors frequently see soldiers in traditional uniform on guard duty at the gatehouse, maintaining a strong, visible military link to the past. Regimental history. Even the quieter corners speak to modern military life, such as the small, touching dog cemetery. Since the 1840s, this has been the resting place for the beloved pets and regimental mascots of the officers stationed here, many of whom traveled the world on campaign with their masters. The castle's continued use by the British Army ensures that it is a dynamic site of active military history, not just a static museum. The greatest modern activity to take place here happens every August on the castle esplanade, the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. This is arguably the most famous military music and performance event in the world, attracting 220,000 live visitors over its 3-week run and a global television audience of 100 million. International performance. Set against the magnificent, illuminated backdrop of the castle, the tattoo showcases military bands, massed pipes and drums, and cultural performers from over 50 nations. It is a world-class spectacle of music, dance, and military precision. The theme each year has a new theme, and the show features spectacular lighting, projections onto the castle walls, and a thrilling finale, often culminating in a fireworks display. The name, the word tattoo, comes from the 17th century Dutch phrase do den tap toe, meaning town off the tap. It was a signal played by the corps of drums for tavern owners to stop serving ale so the soldiers would return to barracks. Over time, it evolved into a term for a military display. The Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo transforms the castle grounds into a theatre of global pageantry, demonstrating that this fortress continues to host events of immense national and international importance. Crossed Swords, #A Fortress of Fury, 3 defining incidents at Edinburgh Castle, 10-minute script. Sound, a sudden, sharp shout in Gaelic, followed by the clanking of metal on stone, fading to dramatic music. Storyteller, welcome to the ancient and powerful Castle Rock. Edinburgh Castle has earned a staggering, if grim, title, the most besieged place in Great Britain. Over its long history, the Rock has witnessed at least 26 major attacks, each one a desperate, bloody incident that shaped the nation of Scotland. Tonight, we delve into 3 of the most dramatic and defining moments, incidents of daring, betrayal, and total destruction, that reveal the true turbulent heart of this fortress. Incident 1, the daring climb, Thomas Randolph's night raid, 3:30. Our first incident is a story of incredible physical daring set during the First War of Scottish Independence. The problem, by 1314, Robert the Bruce had reclaimed most of Scotland from the English, but the magnificent, English-held Edinburgh Castle remained an impenetrable symbol of defiance. Its cliffs were thought to be UN climbable. The man in the plan, Bruce's nephew, Thomas Randolph, Earl of Murray, was determined to take it. He found a guide, a Scottish soldier named William Francis, who, in a classic tale of romance, used to scale the north face of the rock at night to visit his mistress in the town below. He knew a secret, narrow path. The incident, on a dark night in March 1314, Randolph, Francis, and about 30 men began their ascent. It was a terrifying, silent climb, one false step away from death. Halfway up, they had to freeze against the sheer rock face as English guards above them casually threw stones down, oblivious to the Scottish ambush party literally beneath their boots. The victory, reaching the ramparts, they overwhelmed the guards and burst into the castle, shouting their war cries. The astonished English garrison, surrounded and terrified, was quickly defeated. The aftermath, Robert the Bruce ordered that the castle's stone defenses, which had just been so valiantly won, be destroyed. Why? To ensure the English could never again use this mighty fortress as a foothold on Scottish soil. Only Saint Margaret's chapel was spared. This incident proves that even the most impregnable fortress can be conquered by human courage and a single, well-kept secret. We move from a daring battle to a shocking, personal betrayal within the royal palace, an event so grim it inspired a dark nursery rhyme about the castle sinking for sin. The context, the year is 1440. The young King James II is only 10 years old and in the care of the castle's keeper, Sir William Crichton. The powerful Douglas clan, however, had grown too influential, threatening the king's regents. The trap, the young Earl of Douglas, aged 16, and his younger brother were invited to dine with the king inside the castle. It was a lavish, seemingly friendly banquet. The incident, at the height of the feast, a sense of foreboding settled over the hall. A drummer boy played a single, ominous, funereal drumbeat, and suddenly, a covered dish was placed on the table before the 2 Douglas boys. When the lid was lifted, it revealed not food, but the black head of a bull, a medieval symbol of death. The crime, the signal was given. The two young nobles were dragged from the dinner table, given a mock trial, and then swiftly executed in the castle yard right in front of the horrified boy king. The legacy, this treacherous act, known forever as the Black Dinner, secured the power of the king's regents, but it left an indelible stain of betrayal and murder on the castle's royal history. Our final incident is a prolonged war of attrition that physically remade the castle, the Lang Siege of 1571 to 1573. The cause: this was part of the Marian Civil War, pitting the Protestant king's men supporting the infant James VI against the Catholic queen's men supporting the exiled Mary, Queen of Scots. The castle's keeper, Sir William Cavalcanti of Grange, held the fortress for Mary. The standoff, the siege dragged on for 2 years. The king's forces, led by Regent Martin, lacked the firepower to take the castle directly. Cavalcanti's men, high on the rock, constantly harassed the town below. The starvation. The siege became a fight against time and thirst. The besiegers poisoned Saint Margaret's well, the castle's primary water source, and cut off all supplies. Desperate, the garrison was forced to drink tainted water and eat their dwindling rations. The destruction. Finally, the king's men received heavy reinforcements from Elizabeth I of England, including powerful, modern artillery. In May 1573, a devastating 12-day bombardment commenced. Over 3,000 shots were fired, smashing the medieval defenses, including the massive David's Tower, which tumbled down, taking the last well with it. The surrender, with their water gone and their walls reduced to rubble, the garrison mutinied, forcing Cavalcanti of Grange to surrender. He was executed, and the magnificent, ruined castle had to be rebuilt into the shape we mostly see today, including the famous half-moon battery, which was constructed over the remains of David's Tower. But this stone citadel is not finished yet. Its new battles are not fought with cannon or sword, but with climate change, mass tourism, and the challenge of sustainable preservation. The future of Edinburgh Castle is a story of 3 bold transformations: going green, managing the crowds, and securing the physical stones against the next millennium. Transformation 1. The Green Fortress, net zero by 2045, 330. The greatest threat to the ancient stone of Castle Rock today is not an English army, but the accelerating effects of the climate crisis. As Scotland commits to becoming net zero by 2045, the castle, a massive, energy-hungry site, must lead the charge. The problem, Historic Environment Scotland, HES, states that Edinburgh Castle alone accounts for nearly a quarter of its total carbon emissions across its entire estate. This is a fortress built for war, not efficiency. The solution's in stone. Invisible solar power. The castle is already pioneering solutions that respect its ancient fabric. Solar panels have been installed, not on the historic battlements, but subtly on the roof of the Scottish National War Memorial, out of sight from the ground. This one installation is projected to offset all the electricity consumption of the memorial and feed surplus power back into the castle's system. Removing gas. The future involves a complete phasing out of gas heating by 2032, replacing it with low-energy heating systems and efficient LED lighting in historic buildings like the Royal Palace and the Great Hall. Sheep's wool and smart meters. Behind the thick stone walls, a silent revolution is occurring. Insulating exposed pipes, laying natural materials like sheep's wool in roofs, and installing automated smart meters are all part of a discrete, essential plan to reduce energy consumption by up to 29%. The future is one where the castle's past will be preserved by its ability to embrace a high-tech, sustainable future. The fortress is becoming green. The second great challenge is sustainable visitor management. Over 1.5 million people visit the castle annually, and that immense footfall stresses the historic fabric, from the cobbles to the crowns. The pressure point: we love to look at history, but we risk loving it to death. The sheer volume of visitors impacts the quality of the experience and wears down the site. The goal of HES's new master plan is to balance revenue with preservation, to make the experience better for fewer people, or to manage the flow of more people more effectively. The digital key: technology will be crucial to this transformation. Augmented reality and storytelling. The physical visit will be enhanced by a digital layer. Imagine holding your phone up to the half-moon battery and seeing a digital recreation of the Lang siege bombardment flash back to life. Or standing in the Great Hall and activating an audiovisual drama of the Black Dinner. This provides deeper, more personal context without needing invasive, permanent installations. Conservation in public view. The future will allow visitors to witness the delicate work of preservation firsthand. The Honours of Scotland, the Crown Jewels, recently underwent a conservation project that involved public engagement using 3D models and scientific analysis to ensure they are safeguarded for the next century. The cultural anchor, and what of the most famous event? The Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo, performed on the castle esplanade, continues its spectacular life. The tattoo is embracing modern technology and innovative storytelling, using narrators and theatrical lighting, to ensure this critical revenue generator remains a vibrant, evolving tradition at the castle's gate. The castle will evolve from a static museum to a dynamic, technologically assisted stage for history. Welcome to Edinburgh Castle. Look around, and you see the most potent symbol of Scotland, a fortress that stands today on a piece of geology that shaped history itself, Castle Rock. This is not merely a scenic backdrop. It is the plug of an extinct volcano, a formation estimated to be 350 million years old. Ice Age glacier, moving from west to east, scraped away the softer rock, but the hard, dolerite volcanic core resisted. This left a towering cliff face on three sides, south, west, and north, and a gentler slope to the east. This is the classic crag and tail formation, and the Royal Mile follows that gradual tail right to our feet. This natural defense has been occupied by humans since at least the Iron Age. The Romans referred to a settlement here, possibly as Alauna or Rock Place, and ancient British legends called it the Maidens Castle, perhaps because it was never taken by force. The recorded history begins in the High Middle Ages. The first definitive mention of a royal castle here is during the reign of Malcolm III in the 11th century. His wife, the future Saint Margaret, is said to have died here in 1093. Her tiny, simple structure, Saint Margaret's Chapel, still stands on the summit. It is the oldest building in Edinburgh today. The castle was a true royal residence until 1633. Over the centuries, it served every role imaginable for a nation's capital: an arsenal, a treasury, a mint, a national archive, and most importantly, the home of the Honours of Scotland, the Scottish Crown Jewels. King David I, Malcolm III's son, developed Edinburgh as a seat of power, laying the administrative foundations for the modern Scottish state. Later kings would continue this work, constructing major buildings like the Great Hall in the early 16th century, which you can still see today. If there is one statistic that defines Edinburgh Castle, it is this: research identifies at least 26 major sieges in its 1,100-year history. This gives it a unique claim to being the most besieged place in Great Britain and one of the most attacked in the world. The castle was relentlessly involved in the long, brutal wars of Scottish independence. In 1296, the English under Edward I captured it after a 3-day bombardment. But in 1314, Scottish hero Thomas Randolph, Earl of Murray, recaptured it in a legendary surprise night attack. His men were guided up the north cliff face, the steepest side, by a soldier who knew a secret path. Robert the Bruce immediately ordered the castle to be slighted or destroyed to prevent the English from ever using it again. When the English inevitably returned, the Scots took it back again in 1341 through a ruse, disguising themselves as merchants delivering supplies. However, the most destructive event was the Lang Siege of 1573. For 2 years, forces loyal to Mary, Queen of Scots, held the castle against the king's men. When English forces intervened with massive artillery, they pounded the fortress for 12 days, utterly destroying the medieval defenses, including the massive David's Tower. Few of the present buildings predate this terrible bombardment. The fortress you see today was largely rebuilt by the victorious Regent Martin. He constructed the prominent, curved artillery defense you can see on the east side, the Half Moon Battery. The castle's fate changed permanently in the 17th century. Feist. The royal family began to prefer the comfort of Holyrood Palace at the foot of the Royal Mile. The last reigning monarch to sleep here was King Charles I in 1633, the night before his Scottish coronation. Secondly, after the devastation of the sieges of the mid-1600s, the castle transitioned fully into a military garrison. It became a prison, holding notable figures like the Marquis of Montrose, and remained a working garrison until 1923. Even today, the British Army still holds a ceremonial and administrative role here. It is the regimental headquarters for the Royal Regiment of Scotland. This military history is honoured in the Scottish National War Memorial and the National War Museum, both housed within the castle complex. By the early 19th century, the significance of the castle as a piece of national heritage began to be fully recognised. Restoration programs have worked tirelessly to preserve and interpret its history, transforming the military fortress back into a living symbol of Scotland. The sight of the castle rock silhouetted against the sky, especially as the backdrop for the annual Royal Edinburgh military tattoo, is instantly recognisable across the globe. Today, this incredible strongpoint is Scotland's most visited paid tourist attraction, drawing millions of people who come here not just for the views, but to walk through 1,000 years of Scottish history, from volcanic rock to royal palace, from gallows to glory. We stand at the heart of Scotland's history, but within the castle walls are several key places that house the tangible objects of that history, the museums and memorials. A visit to the castle is truly a journey through three distinct themes: royal history, national tributes, and military legacy. Let's explore those now. Our first stop is arguably the most precious collection in Scotland, found inside the Royal Palace on Crown Square, the Honours of Scotland. These aren't just jewels, they are the oldest surviving set of crown jewels in the British Isles, dating from the late 15th and early 16th centuries. The collection consists of three essential pieces. The Crown of Scotland, refashioned for James V in 1540. It's made of Scottish gold and features numerous gemstones and pearls taken from a previous, older crown. The Sceptre, a gift from the Pope, likely to James IV. It was remodeled for James V and is topped by a polished globe of rock crystal. The Sword of State, an immense, ornate ceremonial sword presented to James IV by Pope Julius II in 1507. These three objects were first used together at the coronation of the infant Mary, Queen of Scots, in 1543. Their history is dramatic. They were successfully hidden from Oliver Cromwell's army in the 1650s, only to be locked away in a chest after the Act of Union in 1707 and forgotten for over a century. It was the novelist Sir Walter Scott who led the team that rediscovered them in 1818, bringing them back into public light. In the same vault, you will also see the Stone of Destiny. For centuries, this sacred sandstone was used to crown Scottish monarchs. Captured by Edward I of England in 1296 and taken to Westminster Abbey, it was finally returned to Scotland in 1996 and is displayed here, awaiting its next use at a British coronation. These objects are not museum pieces alone. They are the very symbols of Scotland's nationhood. Adjacent to the Royal Palace is one of the castle's most solemn and moving places, the Scottish National War Memorial. This magnificent memorial was created after the devastation of the First World War, with 1 in 5 Scots who enlisted never returning home. It occupies a beautifully redeveloped barrack block, opening in 1927, and was designed by some of Scotland's finest artists and craftspeople, led by architect Sir Robert Lorimer. The memorial is a profoundly serene space. Everywhere you look, there is meaningful symbolism. Sculpture and stained glass, depicting scenes of courage, sacrifice, and the virtues of the spirit. Look for the symbolic animal figures that represent vices and virtues. The shrine. At the heart of the memorial is the shrine, where a sealed casket contains the rolls of honour, the names of over 147,000 Scottish casualties from the First World War.
It's spelled differently. In the Gaelic days, it was SNOD. You're not listening.
No.
It's SNODGRES. And then they English the name to Snodgrass when the English took over. That's place.
Are we done here?
Probably. What's the next place?
We have to get on the bus and go to. We get on either I think it's the Red or Green bus, and go to the palace. We have to get into the palace.
Right. So let's get going here.
Well, Saturday. اوكي حبيبي يلا ثانك يو.
No tak, nie da się.
Nie ucieknę.
James Walker.
In April 1815, the Napoleons escaped from Alauna to France. The Flanders Castle Royal Scot sailed to Ostend and then marched to Brussels. On the 16th of June, they were ordered to Cathedral, where they played a major part in fighting the French advance and forcing them to battle toward the Dolerite, where again the battalion was fully engaged. During the battle, more officers from the Sergeant Major fell, carrying
Niente brown, you know.
You know, like you told the kind of cover.
Cool.
That would be pretty cool. Look, there are the cannons on the back. Yeah, and what about the farm? There's a guy on the front, protecting it. Oh, no. We can just...
That Irish personally confined, we are only 1 hour.
Welke schurkendaad ze nu willen begaan.
Een nieuw ontsnappingsplan, zonder de minste twijfel. En dan weer dapper terug in de milieu. Overrompeld voor het.
Welcome to Old Ricky, sir. I am Pierre Kalker from Holland.
Yes, sir.
I sailed with Captain John Paul Jones on the bottom Richard. I had the privilege indeed. Only which I never had when we bought the Serapis. And so I cut the guarding a prize. We were too small to resist an English ship that came up on us unawares. I've been here for over a year now. It is. Lord Lord.
Quel américain stupide. Je vais lui... Attends un peu, de Rook. Personne n'en dira rien. Watson a beau être stupide, la cupidité de Cameron est infinie. Pourrait être le plus beau marché. Une vraie petite fortune. Ah oui?
Et en quoi cela te concerne-t-il? Je connais les gens de ton espèce. Vous ne savez rien faire, alors vous utilisez les autres. Je ne pense pas que tu puisses utiliser les autres.
Shots up, guys. You stay away, you do no harm for a while.
But is it so bad then?
We ontsnap in het plan, zonder de minste twijfel.
Where we going now?
Where'd you go?